Day 2 of the Warriors of the Wasatch Air and Space Show here at Hill Air Force Base well underway. Some great imagery. You saw the F-18 Hornet fly earlier today, the F-22 Raptor also in the air, the P-51 Mustang. Tons of acrobatic. And look at those great shots from our second audio-visual squadron crew, Brad Worston there. And it has been a wonderful day. The crowd's still continuing to file in as we get set for some of the really main acts of the afternoon. Dan Hawkins here from the Air Education and Training Command Public Affairs team, and I am absolutely delighted now to be joined by a fellow Dan Spindle from KSL5. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What an invite. What an afternoon. I mean, the sun is shining. It's not too hot. We've got the F-35s firing up behind us. I'm in television. There's nothing that I can do now that my kids think is all that cool. My family's right over here. They think this is incredible because Hill Air Force Base, what a place and what a stage to showcase everything the United States Air Force has to offer.
And if your kids think you're cool, you take that whenever you get it.
Well, I think this is cool anyway. Hey, I did jump with the Golden Knights about a year and a half ago, so seeing that plane make a landing right behind us, I said, okay, I've done that. At least I have done that.
All right, so we're going to bring in our next guest before the F-35 fires up, and it is Colonel Matthew Fritz. He is the commander of the 419th Fighter Wing here at Hill Air Force Base, and that is a reserve wing made up of nearly 1,300 Air Force Reserve personnel, citizen airmen who serve part-time in the military but are full-time members of the community. Most live and work and raise their families here in Utah. Sir, how are you?
Great. Glad to be here. This is awesome. Great day for this. Great day. Loving it. So.
Hey, nothing beats a day of air power.
You said it.
All
absolutely.
Right. So tell us a little bit about what the 419th Fighter Wing does in the big picture of the Air Force.
Okay, sure. The 419th, it has kind of two big main missions. We are associated with our active duty counterpart, the 388th Fighter Wing, on both ops and maintenance. And so we have both pilots and then the ops support that goes along with the pilots, and then a bunch of maintainers also. So that's kind of half of our wing. Then the other half of our wing is what's called Agile Combat Support. So they get tasked outside of what the 388th does. And so they get tasked. We have security forces, we have civil engineers, we have explosive ordnance disposal, we have all those folks that are doing that. So that's basically the other half of our wing that gets tasked outside of the F-35 mission. So two big missions going on.
Here on the airbase, a lot of times it's introducing what the military does to civilians. So can you talk about being a reservist? What does that mean, being a reservist, as far as you've got Air National Guard, you've got active duty. What do the reservists do?
Sure. It kind of means different things to different people, even within the reserve, because there's several different kind of pay statuses within the reserve. So we have our full-time force, that could be an air reserve technician. It's called an ART, and that is, they're no kidding, on a civilian pay status, like in a federal civil service pay status during the week, and then they do their military duty on the weekends. Right. Then we have AGRs, which is Active Guard Reserve, and those folks are essentially basically active duty in the reserve. And then we have the majority of our part-time force, which are the majority of it's what's called the TR, or a traditional reservist. So, and those folks make up the majority of our wing, and those are what you touched on earlier, which is the citizen airmen. They're the ones working downtown. They're doing the jobs, working out amongst us during the month, and then 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year they're coming out to do their service. So.
And speaking of the F-35, it's starting to get loud. I had to push my mic up to my face
exactly
so you can hear us. But it's interesting to see how the reserve airmen with the 419th deploy alongside with the team that's active duty here at Hill. Can you talk about really how that synergy happens between your two units?
Sure, absolutely. So, with the 388, so normally how it works is if the Air Force wants to task up to about 12 jets, then that's going to be all active duty. But then we fill in with the personnel that go with those jets when the active duty gets their tasking. So mainly, again, active duty gets the tasking, and then we fill in bodies. If we're going to more than 12 jets, then we're looking at a full reserve force with both bodies and personnel and equipment, or airplanes plus equipment going out the door. So it's kind of a total force concept there of no kidding. So if they get the tasking, we're embedded with the group going out the door with them. So
I have to ask you now. We talked to Major Beowulf herself.
Sure. She's sitting right there, actually. Yep.
She said when she's on a long flight, she likes to take her e-reader and just relax a little because it's just a long flight across the country. So flying an F-35 yourself, it's no big deal, right? I mean, sure, it's a piece of cake. Easiest thing to fly.
It's always a challenge. Now, if you're going cross country like she talks about, yeah, you got some time to breathe there. But for the most part, yeah, you're busy from starting the airplane until shutting it down. You are busy that entire time. But I tell you, it is phenomenal. The airplane is unbelievable. You're going to see it here in just a little bit. And the jet does amazing things. Just absolutely fabulous jet. It's both power and finesse. A great airplane. Love flying it. Just great. Love it.
Yeah, so we're about to see Major Wolf take off and fly and show the capabilities of the aircraft. But for the layman who may not understand fifth-generation aircraft, can you maybe just talk to truly what does the capability F-35 do to maintain our air dominance?
Sure, absolutely. So obviously the F-35 stealth fighter, right? So we try to use that stealth to get into and try to penetrate that. Well, let me start off. The F-35 has multiple roles that we do, right? Multiple missions, but our bread and butter mission is what's called SEAD, or suppression of enemy air defense. And so what we do is we try to use that stealth capability to try to penetrate an enemy IADS, or an integrated air defense, to get in there, and then we try to either suppress or try to kill those surface-to-air missile sites that are either trying to shoot us down or shoot down the big strike package that's coming in behind us. So that's our bread and butter, is either try to suppress it by jamming their radars, or, oh, no kidding, sometimes we'll try to get them to shoot at us, and then we can find out where they are and locate them, and then try to take it out. So crazy mission. It's it's called the Wild Weasel mission. It's actually been around for a lot of years, but it's a crazy mission, but it's awesome. And this jet does phenomenal at it.
There's a great name, the Wild Weasel.
Right on.
That's just great.
You bet. Weasel it up. It's good stuff.
Everything in the military has a name.
For sure.
So talk about maybe what the 419th is doing. Obviously, General Charles Q. Brown Jr., our Air Force Chief of Staff, has talked about accelerating change so that way we can keep pace with our adversaries around the world, including, obviously, Russia, China. But what are some of the things that you guys are doing to accelerate that change that is needed in today's dynamic national security environment?
Well, it's kind of across the spectrum, actually. When it comes to the flying aspect, we've got our weapons officers who are just the best in the entire globe on knowledge and capability in the airplane. They're phenomenal. So we try to use those guys and gals if we're out flying, we figure out what the tactics are. Does this tactic work? Does that one not work so well? So then we try to feed that back to the weapons officers, and that goes back to the weapons school. And then we try to change that based off of what we're seeing out there to accelerate that change of, hey, this isn't working so well, or this is working really well. We need to expand this. And so we feed that back to the weapons school. On the tactical level side, but then across the spectrum, we're looking to do exactly what the 4 action orders from General Brown. That B, the A, B, C, and D. That B, the bureaucracy. That one's the one that's a hard one to fight, I tell you. So even down here at our tactical level, though, we are really trying to. Again, how can we do things smarter, more efficiently, just on administrative processes, all those kind of things, because if we're eating up time doing those, we're spending less time doing the tactics and doing the job and the mission that we're supposed to be trained to do.
Speaking of jobs, job of a fighter pilot, when you look at Top Gun, and that's very popular right now, and people watch what happens, and they talk about drones versus fighter pilots, the man or woman in the box.
Sure.
I saw an interview recently where they talked about 5th and then 6th generation fighters that will be coming down the pike. We're talking decades worth of fighter pilot necessity. That will be a job in the Air Force going forward. It's not as if pilots are done, drones are in.
Correct.
Kids watching here today, 500,000 people over the weekend here,
sure.
And people watching Top Gun maybe. Of course, that's the Navy, but they can, they want to get the F-35,
sure.
Come in with the Air Force. What do you say to folks who are thinking about a career in the Air Force and maybe even flying? Those who are, they could be 15 years old right now. They'll be flying within the decade.
Where do I start on that one? That's because, I remember how I was. I going to these as a kid, and nobody in my family was in the military, so I was just kind of like trying to figure it out on my own. Well, then I enlisted actually when I was in college in the Air National Guard in South Dakota, and enlisted for school money. It was great, and then I was a crew chief actually, so I got to do touch maintenance, hands-on maintenance on the F-16. Loved it, absolutely loved it. My UTA weekends were just I was chomping at the bit to I wanted to go back. So. That's what I would say is I guess if you're interested in it, there's an early in. I did that early in college. So now if you want to go fly, then you have to get a bachelor's degree that's required. But up to that, you can serve up to that point and work on your degree and work your way into the cockpit just like I did. Because like I said, I was a maintainer on the jet for about 4 years until I got picked up to go fly.
That's great.
So again, exactly. So I was out here doing the same thing going, wow, this is so awesome. Even yesterday I was watching the show. Same thing. I still feel like a little kid around this. Like even after almost 29 years in the Air Force, I still feel like a little kid around this. It is still awesome. It's still fantastic to see. So I would say, just go talk to a recruiter, talk to a family member you may know. Just be thirsting for information on how you can get your foot in the door, because that's what I did, and that is that's what will get you started down the path. And then I would also say study hard, get good grades, because if you're going to fly one of these things, you really got to work hard at that. So
the theme of this Utah Air Show is Innovate, Accelerate, Thrive, the Air Force at 75. And, we talk about science, technology, engineering, and math. Can you kind of talk to, how important it is to grow those skills early? Because you mentioned it, but you need to have those skills if you want to work in the aerospace industry.
Absolutely. Of course, it is incredibly important. So the technical aspect is the better you are at that at an early age, the easier it's going to be to go try to get into one of these things, because you're going to have that knowledge base built early on. There's a program here on base called Starbase. I don't know if you guys have mentioned that or much familiar with it, but that's phenomenal. We had one, again, back when I was in the Guard in South Dakota. I volunteered with that and was teaching the kids with all the different things, and it was great because that's like 4th and 5th graders, and you're getting to them early and letting them know how important these skills are if you're looking to go and get into the Air Force, and especially if you want to go fly. So.
It always makes you feel good. Yeah, I was telling Dan that we felt like an Air Force family by extension growing up. My uncle was in the Air Force, stationed at the Pentagon. We visited him at the Pentagon. Stationed at the Academy. We actually lived in Colorado Springs when they lived there.
Sure.
My cousin, his daughter, went to the Academy. So there's a lot of goodwill and good feelings towards the Air Force coming from us. But it's just so incredible up close and personal. Again, I can talk to my family and friends about the things I've done. I flew on a KC-135, got to watch them refuel the F-16s years ago. But then seeing them up close, touching them, feeling them, I imagine an event like this is quite the recruiting tool, at least to plant the seed, even in young kids, to think that it's an option. And they mentioned we're talking dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of different career paths that can happen within the military.
100% agree. It's key. This is a huge thing for recruiting here, the air shows, and I'm glad that we're back doing them. Yeah, there's a look right there. There's a lot of people out here today. It's fantastic. So exactly like you said, though, being able to put hands on and walk through the big airplanes and that is just phenomenal. It gives everybody that up close experience of wow, I could be doing this one day. So that's just huge to be out here this weekend. This is great. I'm so glad that we're back into the seasons for air shows. And
it's been 4 years too.
Yeah, exactly.
For this 4 years due to COVID and everything. So that's what I was telling Dan. Walking around the food trucks, awesome. The vendors, the T-shirts, everything. It just feels like okay, we're back and we can actually showcase some incredible events. And this is obviously one of those that we love here in Utah.
Absolutely.
And so Bayo is up there preparing. So not that you're the demo team, but what do you think she's kind of prepping for right now as she gets ready to bring in the act before we kick it over to the air boss? I'm just curious, what's going through her mind? What's she doing up there in the air?
Sure. So once you get cranked up, you'll start running all your checks. And so it goes from just ensuring all the systems are up online. And then this jet is fairly kind of heavily reliant upon GPS signals and satellite signals to make sure everything chimes in and gets going. And so and there's what's called sensor fusion. So all these sensors, both passive and active on the jet, are all trying to get up online. All the computers are coming up, and just basically she's running through all those things to make sure that all this stuff gets set up correctly. Because sometimes things will hang up. It's a computer, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if it doesn't work, you shut it off and you turn it back on and then it works again. Like, no kidding.
That's from your phone to the F-35. That's the first thing to look for.
No kidding. It is literally the same thing. No kidding. It's the exact same thing.
When in doubt, restart.
Exactly. Yep. So that's what we do is we get things going, and then also the other part of it is all the displays up front. It's all touchscreen displays in there, so it's pretty phenomenal. And so she's running through all that, getting all those, they call them portals, getting the portals set up to how she needs to perform the show. And then if it was a combat mission, then you'd set it up differently. There's actually 4 different master modes, they call it, where you have to go set up the portals for each one of those master modes. So it's a lot of checks, a lot of things to get done before you get off the ground on one of these. It's just multiple checks across the kind of the spectrum of getting the jet out the door.
And we just saw the P-51 Mustang take off.
Man.
It'll be part of the Heritage Flight. How cool is it for you to see all that Air Force history here, and especially in acts like where the P-51 marries up with the F-35?
It's phenomenal. It's the just the long length of heritage going from that airplane that was built in the 40s to this thing that's here built in the 2010 and almost 19 actually on the later models here. But merging those two together, it's just an awesome sight. And I just, no kidding, I ran into a gentleman yesterday who flew a World War II veteran, flew SNJs in the Navy, 94 years old. Awesome to hear him talk, and I was like, you are the ones that I'm thanking. He came up to me and said, thank you for your service. I said, no, it's the other way around here. Thank you guys for what you do.
We got to do a flight years ago in southern Arizona with a B-17. Mm-hmm. And for us, members of the media, it was incredible to watch this happen where there were World War II vets on board. And the meticulous nature to restore these aircraft. It is, you don't go down to the hardware store and find the pieces and the parts and all to make it accurate to what it was to fly on those. That was an incredible experience because, we've advanced quite a bit over the last century in what we can do up in the air. And so the fact that they were going and fighting the enemy in those circumstances, especially those B-17s that lumber along there, just incredible.
It is. They're old, they're smoky, the oil sprays all over. It's crazy. It's just
facing flak all over the place, and in true heroic nature, just really incredible, completing incredible missions. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's fantastic. So to see that merge come together with the Heritage Flight, it's fantastic.
That's great.
It's still it hits me in here. No kidding. It really does.
Yeah, the greatest generation for a reason.
Absolutely.
Right?
You said it.
I'm just curious. We've asked a lot of our guests. Obviously, I know the F-35 is a favorite, but
what's this little guy?
That's the Sonex. I don't know the number, but
that is the smart car of the Air Force. Is what that is. That is the smallest.
But what's your favorite military platform?
Ooh, boy. So I've been. Oh, there goes Bayo. So, Sound of Freedom right there. That's awesome.
Sir. Yes,
wow.
sir.
So I've been very, very fortunate. I got to fly the F-16 starting out, then I flew F-22s, and now F-35s, and they all are just phenomenal in their own way. But F-22, F-35, much higher capabilities, but for just the fun, and it was kind of my first love was the F-16. So I love that because we did a lot of more low-level type of strafing and bombing attacks in that jet. So you get much more of that sensation of speed. With the F-22 and the F-35, we're doing much more high-altitude operations, and so you don't get that sense of speed. So
it's like the first car in high school.
Exactly.
That
yes.
Car.
Yeah. So that's kind of my first love, but that's awesome.
Wow.
But yeah, they're both just phenomenal in their own way. But like the performance in the F-35 and in the F-22 are just outstanding. So yeah, they're all great in their own way.
Yeah, I mean, how physically demanding are these acrobatics that Bayo's performing right now to show the capability of this aircraft?
It is hard on your body. I've been doing it a lot of years, and my neck and my back they hurt. They hurt. I wake up stiff every morning, so it's crazy because the jet is very demanding. Pulls 9 Gs, so it's F-22 and F-16 same. So you're working hard. You are working hard. And it's just phenomenal. Like I said, I still feel like a little kid around this because it's just so amazing to watch it. But yes, you are working hard. I remember the very first time I got a backseat ride in the F-16. I was just a bowl of jelly at the end of it. I was so tired and so just like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of work. It is definitely physically demanding.
How long has Major Wolf been at this?
She's been in for, let me think.
She said she's been flying around 11 years.
Yeah,
when we talked
10,
to her.
11-ish.
Is that so? When somebody gets into the program, they become a pilot. How soon will they be flying F-35s, let's say, once you get into that program?
It's about 1 year. So you're what's called UPT, or undergraduate pilot training. So it's 6 months in a primary trainer, 6 months then in the T-38, well, T-6 and then T-38. And then at that end of that 1 year, that's when you get your wings and you're a pilot, and then you go into your whatever your platform is going to be. So wherever you end up finishing in your class, you select what you want, and then you go to, like, in this case, you go to F-35 training. I think that scared us all there.
Showing off now.
Exactly. So then, it's 1 year after you start pilot training is then when you'll end up in your F-16, your F-22, your F-35, one of those. So, and then the F-35, it's about another 8 months worth of training to just get through the F-35 school. So it's about 2 full years of training to get through.
Incredible, because the dedication and the discipline that it takes to do what they do, it's just awesome. Awesome.
Check out that replay. I mean, that's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
How much fun is she having right now?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know it's tough, but she's having fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's loving it. Like, who wouldn't love it? It's just, like I said, it's the greatest mix of power and finesse. The airplane is phenomenal. It's great.
Now, is it a similar thing? She's a part of an active unit, comes and does the F-35 demo team for a certain amount of time, and then back to an active unit, or how does that work?
Actually, she's, hang on one second, we're going to get loud here. So, so the demo teams are usually a 2-year tour. So she'll be dedicated to the demo for at least 2 to 3 years. But during the meantime, then she still maintains combat currency with flying with us during the week.
But she had
she is an
like I said, you feel like a little kid. I love it.
She had mentioned to us performing at the Super Bowl, getting to fly over. We said, what was the toughest thing about that? She said, well, first of all, it's timing the anthem, and
right.
they're giving them those cues.
Yep.
She said, but for her, it was easy because all she had to do was stay in formation because she wasn't leading. I said, oh, yeah, old hat, stay in formation in the F-35 and fly over.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was a really cool flight because that was a 5-ship heritage flight over the Super Bowl, and you just don't see that very often.
Right. Yep.
So that was really cool. So, looking at the F-35, I mean, and, I wanted to give you a chance to shout out your reserve citizen airmen because I know it takes your entire unit to put even one of these planes up in the air.
Absolutely, yes. I cannot thank everyone. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a maintainer or ops support or, again, those folks, same thing with doing EOD and the security forces. They're out there, protecting us at the front gate. They are our defenders. So it doesn't matter what job it is. Every job is so important. And we have folks, like, the dedication of the reservists are amazing. We have folks that, the majority live here, but we have folks traveling from all around the country. The furthest one we have living in Delaware pays us on his own dime to pay his way out here to come out and serve once a month, and then there's 2 weeks during the year. So that is the sense. That is the sense of service and dedication that it still gives me goosebumps after almost 29 years to be able to serve with people like that, because without them, we wouldn't be the Air Force that we are. They are just phenomenal.
Absolutely, the epitome of service before self.
You said it, absolutely, for sure.
That's wonderful. So, Colonel Matthew Fritz, thank you so much for not only spending your time with us today and talking about this beautiful airplane. I mean, it is awesome. So you can get back out there and enjoy it, but for what you do for our country as well.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me out. Thank you so much. You bet.
Great talking
Thanks, guys.
to you.
You bet. See ya.
All right. That was Colonel Matthew Fritz, commander of the 419th Fighter Wing, the reserve wing here at Hill Air Force Base. Dan Hawkins alongside Dan Spindle from KSL 5. Take a look at that, Dan.
That's incredible. Well, it's something that I love is that I want my daughters to know this is a female pilot. These are women in the military that can do anything as good or better than the men can do. And this is, I mean, look at this. Just incredible.
Beautiful shot, an inverted shot there of the F-35 Lightning II piloted by Major Kristen Beowulf. And yes, that is a woman. You can do it too. We're going to go ahead and pitch it now to the Air Boss to take you the rest of the way through her flight.
Watch now as Major Wolf flies across the aerobatic container and traces a square in the sky. Coming in from your left, the F-35 performing the unique square loop. The ability to maintain slow speed flight is crucial in combat. The potent combination of sophisticated flight controls, coupled with the most powerful fighter engine ever built, make it possible to reduce the F-35 speed to less than 100 knots. Coming in from your right, Major Wolf will demonstrate the F-35's slow speed capability, and then just as she approaches show center, you will once again feel the raw power of the engine as she lights the afterburner and accelerates the aircraft into a near vertical climb. Don't look away yet. As Major Wolf reaches the peak of her climb, she will go inverted and reposition the aircraft by performing a split S. As she returns to the show center, she will then accelerate rapidly and snap the F-35 through a series of aileron rolls to demonstrate the Lightning II's impressive roll maneuverability. Dropping in from the left, Major Wolf executing opposing rolls. We hope you enjoyed today's brief display of only a fraction of the F-35's full combat capability. As Major Wolf repositions the F-35 in preparation for Heritage Flight, we would like to give a shout out to our expert maintenance team that made today's demonstration possible. Our F-35 dedicated crew chiefs, Staff Sergeant Matthew Spear from Gulfport, Mississippi, Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Williams from Mobile, Alabama, our avionics specialist, Staff Sergeant Matthew Cyrus from Pomona, California, our weapons specialist, Staff Sergeant Joshua Peterson from Navarre, Florida, and our air crew flight equipment specialist, Staff Sergeant Austin Noivong from right here in Syracuse, Utah. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take a moment to describe the unique history of what you are about to watch. In 1997, the leaders of Air Combat Command assembled a select group of retired military and civilian performers to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the United States Air Force. From this gathering was born the Heritage Flight, a unique visual representation of the Air Force's history from the days of the Air Army Corps to the present. What started out as a one-time event has grown in popularity and demand, and now Heritage Flights are performed at air shows and special events in the United States and around the world. Flying in formation today are a World War II-era P-51 Mustang, piloted by Steve-O Hinton, and a U.S. Air Force F-35, piloted by Major Kristen Wolfe. The legendary P-51 Mustang dominated the skies over Western Europe after it was introduced in World War II. Powered by a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, the Mustang has a top speed of 437 miles per hour and can travel up to 2,000 miles. The P-51 was equipped with a 650 caliber Browning machine guns and carried up to 2,000 pounds of munitions. We would like to dedicate today's Heritage Flight to all the military veterans in attendance whose sacrifices over the years have helped preserve America's freedom. We hope you've enjoyed watching this rare formation of classic and current United States aircraft on our journey from heritage to horizons. Please turn with me now and watch as this rare formation approaches from behind the crowd for the final pass. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Air Force Heritage Flight. We hope you've enjoyed watching and taking pride in this rare display of over 75 years of air power heritage. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we got time for a few more passes. Coming in from your left, Major Wolf in the F-35, performing the tactical pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up one more time for Steve-O Hinton in the beautiful P-51 Mustang coming in for a slow roll. Steve-O was one of only 10 civilian pilots qualified to fly vintage warbirds in formation along modern-day aircraft.
This is Mr. Wolf from the cockpit of the F-35. We, the Lightning Ski Demo team, would like to thank you for coming to our hometown show and hope you guys had a great day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our demonstration today. Let's give it up one more time for the F-35 demonstration team. It has been our absolute honor and privilege to spend this beautiful Sunday here with you out here at Hill Air Force Base. Hollywood, it is back over to you.
Oh, and Hollywood is glad to get a thank you to the F-35 team.
All right, what a performance. You get a great look there at the F-35 Lightning II, fifth-generation fighter, stealth-capable. Major Kristen Beowulf putting the full capabilities of America's air dominance on display.
What a show. And to consider what it's like to see these planes in action. I know a lot of folks who live here north of Salt Lake, Ogden area. They see a lot of the training and the comings and goings. But to watch her do all of the maneuvering, to slow up, to speed up, to flip over, to just kind of put on a show. To me, the most moving part was watching it with the Mustang. I mean, that was incredible because you're looking at 80 years of military excellence in the skies. It was just spectacular. There it is.
There you go. You called it right there.
What a shot.
I mean, that is gorgeous. Again, great shots all weekend long from our second audio-visual squadron crew. Does it get any better than that, Dan?
Fantastic. I mean, the backdrop of the Wasatch Front is pretty incredible as well.
It really is.
But just seeing the difference, too, I was talking to my son a second ago about this, the power and the capability of that F-35, while it can turn on a dime as well. I mean, it is just, it's a vehicle that is just so spectacular to watch. And Major Kristen Beowulf, boy, what a pilot she is. Just incredible to watch her as well up there in the skies.
Yeah, don't forget, 3:30 local time is when the United States Air Force Aerial Demonstration Squadron, the Thunderbirds, our ambassadors in blue, scheduled to take off. And you want to talk about some tight turns?
Oh, boy.
The Block 52 engine in the F-16 Fighting Falcon. They could do some pretty tight turns.
I'll say we got kind of a preview when we did our newscast out here on Friday, and they were just putting on a full display of power. And it was a skimpier crowd. This crowd has been on their feet for the better part of the last hour watching the best that the Air Force has to offer here. So just incredible.
Yeah, and the crowd started filing in, right when the gates opened, and they have been here all day. And I mean, back to yesterday, they estimated when we talked with Kevin Ireland from the Utah Airshow Foundation this morning, he said they estimated 300,000 people yesterday.
Wow.
So, and we don't even have numbers for today, but what a great turnout from this community.
Yeah, and 4 years, a long time coming to be able to get this back here in the United States. I mean, there it is. I mean, people have been just milling around and enjoying all the things to see, from the helicopters to the tanks. There's a tank over there. I mean, there's a line.
Didn't know that.
There is a tank to get
wow.
into. I mean, and all of these military aircraft up close and personal, from the historic to the current kind of modern day models. It's just incredible incredible. And you've also got these pop-ups where you can talk to members of the military. You can talk to the people who are involved in this every day, because this is a lifestyle and it's kind of a family affair. When you are a military family, when you're an Air Force family, we'll throw in the Navy there too, because we have some Navy, an old Blue Angels jet over here too. So whether it's the Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, whatever it might be, Space Force now within the Department of the Air Force, just incredible. And we want to say thank you, of course, always to our military families. I know you guys do this every day as part of the military and the extended reach the military has, but it's just such a benefit to all of us here to see this and to really give thanks for what we have, to see our military up close and personal.
Yeah, and there's still time. This is a free event, so get
it's
out
not
here.
over.
We have a couple seats left, so if you want to come see the Thunderbirds up close and personal, you better get out here now, because you've only got about an hour and 20 minutes or so there's time.
Don't go to the South Gate. I'll just say that. Don't go to the South Gate. If you can get to the West Gate, the Roy entrance, you can make it on, but you can also take those shuttles as well. So if UTA shuttles are still running, you got to take a look at that to get on and off the base. But once you're here, I mean, it's so fun to just walk around and just enjoy this space.
Yeah, and don't forget there's STEM City over by the fire department, so places to take the kiddos, get out of the heat maybe just
Not
a little
only
bit.
that, over at STEM City, we saw the Mars rover, the Perseverance, the exact replica, the model that shows you exactly what is on the surface of the red planet right now, gathering data. And Utah may very well be a location where they drop those Martian rocks. This could be the location that they bring them back here. And I said, well, what do we have to do? Kind of like the Olympics. We go to Switzerland and pitch to the IOC. Hey, please bring the Olympics to Utah. We're going to do the same thing. Say, what do we got to do? Who do we have to talk to bring those Martian rocks back here so that we get to see them first?
Yeah, you see the T-33 up there in the skies right now, and Rob Holland is the pilot, and he is a air show circuit veteran. As you look at some of his stats right there, so even these little bitty aircraft, 350 horsepower.
Oh my goodness!
Wow! And so again, still lots to see and do. And we actually talked to Brian Clement from NASA this morning, and he talked about the Mars Perseverance rover and the Ingenuity helicopter, all the stuff, and how versatile really Hill Air Force Base, but all the other things that are here in Utah that people may not know about.
Oh, no doubt. We have military contractors and space contractors here that coordinate with NASA, and they test up at Promontory. They test these rockets. The moon mission that's coming up, they tested that rocket here in Utah. So we love the connection that we have here as Utahns to our Air Force and NASA, those who work in the aeronautics industry.
And that's not just a parking attendant right there. That is a dedicated crew chief bringing in the F-35 as Major Kristen Beowulf taxis in for the final time as part of this air show. But, man, what a beautiful looking aircraft. Another great shot.
Yeah, fifth generation, I think, again, thanks to Top Gun in part, kids are learning the lingo. And they say, oh, fifth generation fighter. What's that, Dad? Oh, okay. Well, here's an example of one of those fifth generation fighters right here in front of us.
Yeah. So, lots still to see and do. We're going to go ahead and kick it over to the Air Boss to learn more about what's happening in the skies over Hill. Don't forget the Thunderbirds coming up 3:30, so we hope that you'll definitely be here with us then.
Scott. Fast roll, hesitation roll. Now a signature maneuver from Rob Holland. It is called the Nivek. One of his signature maneuvers, watch his MX aircraft. The type he is end over end tumble. He will stop it directly where he wants, upside down, in line and over the top of the runway. Not content to fly down, he's got to roll the aircraft. Now, he's going to tumble the aircraft. You have seen that throughout the course of the day. He's going to defy gravity and do it on the way up. Watch this, still going up, still gaining altitude. Making his way off to the left. Another Rob Holland signature maneuver. This is called the Cardiac Express. describing exactly what's going on. Roll one direction, stop, roll the other direction, kick up off the top, start to float the airplane. Now, end over end tumble. Recover inverted, roll right side up, roll around, pass upside down, back to right side up. Now, ever creative is Rob Holland, off to the right, another signature turnaround. He calls it the swivel turn. These are the maneuvers that have impressed the judges to give Rob Holland points in the national and international arena. Give him your best, hardest maneuvers and do them perfectly, like the slide winder. Sliding sideways into second base, and that runner is safe. Always maneuvering the aircraft, always gaining points from a number of judges on the ground. Now watch this maneuver as he gets high. This is called the Cobra. It is the Cobra snake striking in the sky. That's how quick they are. Floats the aircraft around. Now Rob has got the smoke system off. He's going to climb for altitude. He's going to cool down the cylinder head temperatures and the oil temperatures. And when it looks correct, he's got the perfect sky for his next maneuver. So Rob Holland from Danny on the ground. Whenever you're ready, let's go to the cockpit.
Ask each and every one of you to help do me a favor. When you see a military man or woman in uniform, or a veteran, I want you to walk up to them, look them in the eyes, shake their hands, and say, thank you. Do it to the service, sacrifice, bravery, and dedication. Gives each and every one of us the freedom we cherish so much. And from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to dedicate this heart to each and every one of them.
How about that for a gift for you? Rob Holland and your heart in the sky. Let's give our Sky Champion a big round of applause, if you will. A perfect day for a perfect gift. Now we're going to let, you might have heard Rob gasping for breath. You think he's sitting down. Why is he short of breath? This is hard, grueling work. We're going to go back to the cockpit. He's going to take a little breather, catch his breath, get altitude. All right, the smoke system is on. That was an outstanding sky for an outstanding heart, Rob Holland. Thank you so much for that gift. It is back to you.
Thanks, Danny. I'm just climbing up to the second half of my show. I hope you enjoy watching as much as I'm enjoying flying. It's such a beautiful day out here. I should be back in about 30 seconds or so. Back to you, Danny.
They got it, Rob. Okay, picking up altitude. Now, he'll come downhill from your right, 300 miles per hour. In a series of multiple rapid rolls, showing you the awesome capability of this competition and air show airplane. Smoke is saying, here I am. You'll find the position and start the speed. Whirlwind propellers, Lycon engines, MX airplane, but putting it all together, the champion himself, Rob Holland. Coming downhill, rolling the aircraft. Watch the smoke behind him. Dizzying rate of roll. Green, blue, green, blue, green, blue. Sky ground, sky ground, sky ground. From there to the vertical roll. The rapid rate of roll, as the speed dissipates, gravity starts to take over. The airplane will stop because that's the law. The law of gravity. Smoke goes off as promised. Still rotating on the torque of the whirlwind propeller and the Lycon engine, going backwards and then recovering ever so gently. From center off to the right, this will be the positive G, or inside tumbling maneuver. Setting it up, end over end like a balsa wood airplane in a windstorm. Give your Sky champion, Rob Holland, a big round of applause, if you will. By the way, Rob Holland and one of our other performers yet to fly today, Jeff Bourbon, will be going to Poland in August to represent the United States of America in international competition, hoping to bring home the gold. Half of an outside loop now, arcing it around. Quickly back to center stage. Outside, half snap. This is the computer roll. I asked Rob about how he does this. He said, I just program the computer, take a rest, and the airplane does the rest. I don't think so. It's all Rob. And that is a very difficult maneuver to master. There he goes upside down, tumbling end over end, picking up his line over the top of the runway, fighting disorientation all the way. Now at stage left, pulling to the vertical once again, straight up. Again, he will slice the horizon by 90 degrees. Then he does the up vertical inside tumbling maneuver, mushing the aircraft flat wing on the descent, then diving, picking up speed very rapidly. There's the Cobra. Now this is the inverted frisbee, upside down and twirling, doing it the hard way. Now picking out a point 90 degrees away from the spectators. He'll point the nose of the aircraft up and do the impossible without lift on the wings. From the power of the Lycon engine and the whirlwind propeller and his skill, he'll try to stop the airplane of any ground speed and hover in the air. And again, that's pure power to weight ratio and the very intricate maneuvers on the stick to keep it in a very balanced, feathered edge flying maneuver, forcing the airplane to fly. Now, in this exhausting routine, coming back around, he'll be setting up for a great photo opportunity. By now, you know what knife-edge flight is all about. He'll roll the aircraft. We'll get a peek inside of his office. And with your device, whatever it is, with the Thunderbirds in the background and the Wasatch range behind him, there is the photo pass. Now, Rob Holland, you know, he is very creative, and he's on final approach. And the tower says, Rob, you're going the wrong way. Rob's a very mild-mannered guy. He said, no, I'll be ready to land. Don't worry. I'm all ready. So getting ready for his cross country tomorrow, he's going to Ogden, Utah to position.
So earlier this afternoon, Danny, you were talking about all the bona fide charities that are out here selling all the food, doing all the things. And you know, there's a really conscientious group of volunteers out here that are running the meatball sub booth in between the B-52 and KC-135. And one of their customers didn't quite get everything they needed with their meatball sub because they still have Kathy Bellows' credit card. So if you got a meatball sub and your name is Kathy, you need to go back to the meatball sub booth to get your credit card.
All right, thank you for that.
Wow, great pictures as always, all day long. Day 2 of the Warriors over the Wasatch Air Show and Space Show, actually, winding down. Dan Hawkins, Dan Spindle. It's been a wonderful afternoon. We still have the headliners to come, the Ambassadors in Blue, the Air Force Thunderbirds. We can't wait. But right now, we are delighted to be joined by Colonel Aaron Cowley. He's the 309th Missile Maintenance Group commander, part of the Ogden Air Logistics Complex, which is here at Hill Air Force Base, providing logistics support, maintenance, and distribution for the nation's premier fighter aircraft, including planes we've seen this weekend, the F-35, the F-22, the planes we're about to see, the F-16, and the Army's best friend, the A-10 Thunderbolt. Sir, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Dan. Appreciate it.
So can you just give us a little bit of a broad brush overview maybe of we talked a little bit there about it, but what the ALC does on a daily basis?
Sure. Well, we are one of the Air Force's 3 depots where we conduct munitions and aircraft maintenance at the depot level, which is maintenance that can't be performed at all the fields where each of the aircraft are assigned. They come in here and they get modifications and they get heavy level maintenance conducted, and then they go back out to the field supporting warfighters all around the world. So that's mainly what the depot does here at the Air Logistics Complex.
It's a team effort. I mean, that's what's so important, is to let everybody know the various jobs within the military to help get the planes up in the air, right?
Absolutely. It is a whole team, and the number of specialties that are involved, both in military as well as civilians, and our contract partners that it takes to make this whole complex operate is pretty impressive and awe-inspiring when you get here and take a look at the breadth and the depth of how much really happens here.
Yeah, and if you were listening, you didn't hear me wrong. I said Missile Maintenance Group, and we talked with General Gibbs yesterday, but we also talked to Colonel Bartolome, and we talked about the ICBMs and now the Sentinel. But maybe just explain what the Missile Maintenance Group does.
Absolutely. So everyone knows about the airplanes that we fly here. It's pretty obvious the airplanes that we maintain, but what you may not see is the ICBM, the Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles, the Minuteman IIIs that are stationed all around the northern tier of the United States. Those missiles and all of the support equipment that it takes to support them comes back here to the depot at Hill, where we modify them and do depot level maintenance and send them back out to the warfighter just the way that we do with the airplanes. So we've got about 700 folks here inside the Missile Maintenance Group, and that's what we do, is just keep that system ready to sit on alert, and we're preparing for the next missile system, the Sentinel, that's going to come along to replace the Minuteman III, and we'll do that same level of maintenance on that system whenever it comes along.
You work on the missiles. There has to be a favorite plane, though, a favorite jet, a favorite vehicle that you all get to work on.
Well, I hate to admit it. I've been an aircraft connoisseur my whole life. I've loved airplanes and followed them, been to hundreds of air shows. But I think my favorite one really is the B-52 that's out here on the ramp today. It is just an impressive system that, like the Minuteman III ICBM, has been around for decades, since the 1950s, and we're still flying it today, and we're going to fly it for another 50 years probably. But the fact that folks can come out here and see the cutting-edge weapons system that keeps getting modified and improved, and I had several jobs in my life where I've worked on that airplane too, so pretty proud to be a piece of the decades of history and the combat power that airplane brings. Kind
of a sentimental favorite too. I would say we grew up in southern Arizona seeing the A-10s at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base down there, and every time I see an A-10, it kind of takes me back to being a kid or a teenager and see them kind of rolling right along. And I got the chance when I worked in Tucson to interview the pilots of the A-10s, and as they were heading overseas and that kind of thing. So the A-10 for me, I love it because it looks so different too.
Yeah. It's earned its name in terms of the way it looks, and I had fortunate enough to have a tour working on the A-10, so it's got a soft spot for me too. As far as fighters go and small airplanes, like the B-52, it's old and it's ugly, and it does its job very, very well.
Well, and you bring up some great points. I mean, it sounds like you've had a very varied Air Force career and story. Tell us maybe just a little bit about your background, because it sounds very diverse.
Sure. I started out doing aircraft maintenance, and I got to work on many different airplanes, the B-2, the B-52, the A-10, the F-16, and then I transitioned into be a munitions maintenance officer and got to work on all the bombs and explosives and everything that blows up and those airplanes deliver. And then here, late in my career, I've got a chance to come here to the depot and for the first time be exposed to the ICBM mission, which is new for me, but still just as impressive and awe-inspiring as all the airplanes that I've had the chance to work with over my career. So I've been to most of the United States and a few countries overseas, and it's just been an amazing career, and the things that we get to see and do as an Air Force airmen is exciting and fun. So no matter how long we go.
But yeah, the best job in the world, I think.
It absolutely is. I would agree.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about the people who work for you at the Air Logistics Complex? Because there's a lot of civilians who live, obviously live here in the community.
Sure. Yes. We've in the overall complex, which does all the aircraft as well as the missile maintenance, we've got about 8,100 personnel, but that runs the gamut from military to civilian Air Force employees and contractors, and they're spread across more specialties than you can imagine, from sheet metal to aircraft paint to avionics to engineers. There's just a large number of engineers and even business professionals that it takes to run the business management of this entire complex. It's so complex and complicated, but we're always looking for great folks, and this Hill Air Force Base and the surrounding community has just been such a great source of the to bring those technicians in, and their work is amazing to watch. The artisans that they are, the way that they can bend some of this old sheet metal and replace all the components that it takes to keep these planes flying and the missiles on alert.
That's the great way to put it, to artisans, because there's such a technical aspect, a creative aspect. Folks who work in technical fields, you learn very quickly that sometimes it's jazz, where you're moving around all over the place to make sure that the mission gets done, and other times it's very technically sound, right? But sometimes you have to adapt quickly. Growing up and having my uncle and cousin in the Air Force, it was something, they worked in logistics, and I remember they always said that, logistics, and I thought, what in the world does that mean? As a kid, I go, what does that mean? Like you mentioned, there are so many different areas and facets that make the mission able to be accomplished, but it takes everybody, and it takes the engines, of course, but it takes everybody on base, off base, in the community to help bring it about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this year's theme for the air show, in line with the Air Force's 75th anniversary, and Innovate, Accelerate, Thrive. And you talked about artisans and creativity. I think a lot of people may think, oh, you work for the military, it's very rigid, but there is so much room for diversity, fostering creation and bringing ideas to life.
Absolutely, and we often think about this at the field level, where most of our airmen live and work, and how we can make their lives easier. But I think there's probably no place where it applies more than here at a depot, where we see things that come in and we tear things apart to a level that may not have been ever seen before in that weapon system. And it takes a lot of creativity to figure out how we're going to repair that part, or what engineering solution we're going to apply to this things that begin to fail in ways we've never seen before, and especially in some of these aging weapon systems. But absolutely, innovation is a key part of everything that we do here.
There's a lot of kind of advertisement, I would say, to that effect of the engineering and the different levels that we were just walking around with the family here at the Air Force Base. That's what's so important. You get 600,000 people to come through, and they might never have had that connection, that family connection, those family members. We were talking before to the colonel who said he did not have any military family, because sometimes it's in the family. Is it in your family? Was it something that was a foregone conclusion? You thought, military, yeah, I can go to the Air Force.
No, I've got a few family members who joined, and most of them did their 4 years and left, and I'm the only one to stay for 26 years. But I absolutely fell in love with it. But it wasn't, I grew up going to air shows and things like that, like I mentioned, that just fell in love with airplanes, and that's what drew me in. But no, I'm not a whole lot of depth in our family. But
yeah, and so you mentioned, not a lot of depth in your family, but so many ways to serve. And we had Don Jessett on yesterday, the chief of business operations at the ALC, and you briefly touched on it, but you guys are always looking to hire, especially in the skilled labor trades like aircraft, electrician, machinist, those kinds, software engineering. We just watched the F-35, right? That's software city, right?
Absolutely.
Can you maybe talk to, for somebody who might be listening and going, I had no idea that we were really looking to hire?
No, there's a constant, that people are retiring, people are getting out and moving up, usually, creating all sorts of openings for folks. But pretty much every specialty that you can imagine that's related to the outside industry, we have here inside the Air Force to keep what is really a large financial machine supported by work and those artisans that we talked about, that pretty much every specialty you can imagine if that has anything to do with the aviation industry, we've got here, and we're always looking to hire. And this is what a great source of talent that we have to pull from here in Utah to be able to put those folks to work. And any training that folks don't have, we give a lot of that training right here on the spot to be able to do a lot of that artisanship. So whether someone is highly qualified and well trained and educated, or they're just starting out, a lot of folks will start out here as a technician and work their way up into management and into leadership. So we've got lots of opportunity across the spectrum.
Incredible. It's a great thing, too, to just kind of connect the community. Obviously, there are great military bases and posts across the country where the local community has long just kind of held this up as their pride and joy. And the Hill Air Force Base obviously has a long history, and we talk a lot about, Wendover and what happened at Wendover as far as the end of the World War II, and so kind of connecting people to the because a base is not exactly wide open for the general public all the time to come and enjoy the things that some of us in the media get to do to show the general public. So to be able to open the doors here wide open, that's got to be exciting.
Oh, it's a phenomenal opportunity for us. I know my kids in particular, they get a little bit tired of hearing me talk about airplanes and missiles.
Sure.
But to get to talk to folks who don't get that exposure constantly the way our friends and family do really is special, because all of us like to brag about what we do, the systems that we work with, and mostly the amazing people that we get to work with that carry out the mission every day.
And it's so funny you said that. My daughter now is an engineer with the Federal Aviation Administration, and when she was still in college and even in high school, she'd be like, "Oh, you guys talk about work too much," and now you can see that passion coming from her. And just
now
a few weeks ago, I was like, "Hey, you sure seem to talk about work a whole lot," and she was like just looking at me. So that's cool.
Well, I was telling Dan that I got to jump with the Golden Knights about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And so the fact that I've been talking about it for a year and a half, and then watching my family sitting right over here, and they watch the Golden Knights just perform their entire, I guess you'd call it a routine, but just everything that they do. And the kids, mouths wide open, staring up in the sky. And I said, "See, I told you, you're never going to stop talking about this." And now they'll say, "Okay, Dad, when do I get to go?"
It's only fair.
So, as you guys look ahead, what are maybe some of the exciting things on the horizon coming up for the Air Logistics Complex?
Well, I talked a little bit about some of the systems that are coming on to replace the older systems that are retiring. So I know, for one, we also, in another group inside the complex, they work on the T-38, which I noticed there's a couple examples here, the training aircraft that the complex does. That's going to be replaced with a T-7 aircraft. It's going to come on here, and it'll be continued to be maintained, as well as the ICBM Minuteman III that's retiring in the next few decades, and then will be gradually replaced with the Sentinel. We'll take over the maintenance on that system as well. So those are some of the big rocks of those big systems that we're looking forward to accepting.
The T-7A Red Hawk, that's from Boeing. That's going to primarily go to Air Education and Training Command, where I work. I'm based in San Antonio at headquarters AATC, so we're definitely excited about the T-7A Red Hawk coming in. And really, those are the kinds of tools. That's what we need to train fifth-generation fighter pilots.
Absolutely. And as example, the two that are here today, it trains the new pilots, but it's also in use on several other airplanes just to keep pilots to maintain their certification. So airplanes like the B-2 use it as a companion trainer at those bases in Missouri, or also in California where the U-2 flies. They have T-38s that fly there to keep those pilots that normally fly U-2 spy aircraft certified and qualified to be able to fly. So it's a really neat mission, and for Hill to be able to be a part of that is pretty amazing.
So as an aircraft maintenance officer, I know some I've known over the course of time. Are there have you had opportunities to fly in any of these fighter aircraft at all?
Yes, I have, and I flew in a T-37 once. That was my first airplane.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun.
The tweet,
but the mighty tweet, as they say. But probably I teased my wife that the best hour of my life was spent in an F-16 over Denali National Park in Alaska, where we got to fly. We flew F-16s out of there and got to pull Gs and basically let us do whatever we wanted in the airspace there. It was amazing. And of course the mighty B-52. I got a flight in the B-52 while I was supporting that aircraft as well. But the F-16 was definitely more fun than anything else, as we can see behind us here.
Yeah. Well, now you're just showing off. That's what I mean. I just gotta say, now you're just showing off, as we're getting closer and closer to the Air Force Thunderbirds. But is there maybe some, to close things out with you, as you see the Shockwave truck. That's
Shockwave.
three jet engines. 36. Maybe just for the crowd, what's 36,000 pounds of horsepower mean? 'Cause that's what's in that truck.
I'm trying to equate that to it's physically exhausting, more so than you would think. I guess that's the best I could come up with after riding in that F-16. I had a whole new appreciation for the physical aspect of G-forces and what that means. So I can imagine he's probably getting pressed into that seat pretty hard when he goes to full acceleration.
Yeah. So is there, maybe some hidden gem of knowledge about the ALC that, if you weren't necessarily around it every day or know somebody who works there, that might be interesting to the public? Just curious.
Well, I'll one thing to highlight that we do in my group that I was surprised to learn when I got here is explosive testing. So we do a lot of tests on explosives, and out at the Utah Test and Training Range, which is about an hour and a half from the base, is still part of the base. But we actually test bombs and missiles, do static fires on boosters for the Minuteman III ICBM, but we also detonate bombs and lots of other explosives that require testing. It's something that most people wouldn't think of that we do here, but I think it's a pretty fascinating part of the mission.
I can imagine it must be, as we're going to feel the heat here. Oh, there it is. There it is. Dan has a weird look on his face. But I can imagine that before you actually got here to the depot, you were probably pretty surprised when you walked in the front door at the scope.
That's exactly right. Every single time that I go into a new building that I hadn't been in before here, I'm amazed to say, wow, we do this here. And most of the time, this is the only place in the world where that thing happens, whether it's landing gear, whether it's explosive ordnance testing, or X-rays of missile components. It's amazing, this spectrum, the work that happens here.
So we're getting ready to have another drive-by right here. Wow.
Impressive.
So thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. And again, the ALC, they're hiring. So if you're interested and you want to learn a trade or a trade, they probably have a spot for you at
Absolutely.
the ALC.
And we'll look forward to it.
All right, Colonel Aaron Cowley, he's the 309th Missile Maintenance Group Commander, so we thank you for your time,
Thank
sir.
you, Dan. Very good to meet you.
All right, take care. Oh, man, lots of fun as we get another look at the Shockwave truck. And I don't know if that truck just blew the headsets off Dan Spindle's head or not, but actually a little bit of technical difficulties there as we get a little bit closer. He can't really hear me all that well. Yeah, he can ride it out. So, hey, a little bit of creativity happening here on set, but that's okay. We're getting closer and closer to the Air Force Thunderbird show. We're roughly 45 minutes from that show happening, and that is about a 35-minute presentation in the air by the Air Force Thunderbirds. Hey. And so it sounds like Dan is back.
I think I can hear you, and I think you can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right.
Dan is back.
It's probably better that way, so I could watch the Shockwave, right behind with that giant flame. Racing the jets as they do. What an incredible... I mean, that's the cool thing. I told my kids, they said that thing can go 350 miles an hour on the... I guess you'd call it the runway. It's not going to take off.
No. It might. It's got 3 jet engines, but I guess it doesn't have
way back here. You think of Bigfoot and Gravedigger at the big monster truck rallies. They got nothing on that.
Apparently, the Shockwave has a world record. I don't know if you know that, but apparently 376 miles per hour as a world record.
That does not surprise me in the slightest.
No. So, great shot there. You see the Wasatch. I've been to a lot of air shows, but just having the Wasatch Mountains as a backdrop, that's pretty cool.
Now, had you done this one here at Hill before?
Never.
See, this is good. This is my first. This is your first.
Yeah, totally. First time.
I know Warriors of the Wasatch is nothing new, but boy, after a 4-year hiatus, it feels good to be up here. You got some elevation. It's not too hot as you'd get at some of the other Air Force bases, and you've got this view. Watch this.
Oh, he's going to race the airplane here. So we're going to... I don't know which one's a better view. He's racing. Look at that. He is racing an airplane. Wow. And I don't know. That seems like it was pretty close to a tie. I don't know. But You just saw a race between a truck and an airplane. And you thought that was only in the movies.
Again, it blew my headset off again, I think. That was if you're paying attention at home, this is, I think, my third
There's
headset.
the replay.
Look at this.
Photo finish. Oh,
Incredible.
I think the angle's off. I don't know. It's maybe, it could still have been a tie.
Yeah, that's the photo finish there. It's not exactly like the Olympics or something where we can tell, or the Kentucky Derby.
I mean, I guess we could give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's a truck.
Oh, my gosh. Incredible. Fastest truck I've ever seen. Now, my kids were asking during the break, how fast does the F-35 go? Do we know this? What's the typical
It can go
speed?
up to 1.6 Mach, which
what
is
is that?
a time and a half. So Mach is Mach 1, from my understanding, in breaking the sound barriers, anything over 750
That's what I thought, 700
miles an hour. So the math I read was 1.6.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't do public math.
Whatever.
You got the most math you're ever going to get out of me right there. And that's as far as I can look cool.
It's always in the military, had this many knots and this many, Mach whatever. So just to put it into our civilians or layman's terms, that's very fast.
Yeah, for sure. Very fast.
I think what was more impressive maybe is how slow she was going, Major Kristen Bale-Wolf, as she was kind of just hovering and moving along and showing the intricate way that she could move the jet back and forth. And, everybody was in awe of that for sure.
Great picture of the crowd enjoying a beautiful Saturday afternoon here at Hill Air Force Base. And, I know you got to see a little bit of a teaser Friday while you were out here doing your live show for KSL 5, and that was a lot of fun. But what was your sense when you got here today and you walked through the crowd and what they were kind of experiencing, and you getting to experience that with your family? What does this air show mean, to the community?
Well, let's see if you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. You can hear me, Dan? Okay. Okay. I mean, look, honestly, like I said, for me, not having ever served in the military and not having had direct, my parents were not in the military, my grandparents were not. Now, my grandpa, generations in the past, he was in the Navy. Never talked to him about it. My wife's grandfather was in the Army. I actually did a little documentary about him. So learning from those who served in the past, the incredible circumstances that they found themselves in, the incredibly difficult challenges and life-threatening challenges, for me, it's just learning all about what it means to be in the military. So when you get to come out to an event, you feel the passion. You see the different jobs, the services, the kind of team effort that it takes to be a member of the military here in the United States. And it's just, like we said earlier, it's a family thing. It's a labor of love. It's a family thing. We know how difficult it is when families are stationed all over the country, all over the world. Every 2 to 3 years, they're moving to complete the mission, right? To make sure we all are safe and free. And so we should never take that for granted. So for me, it's probably more the ability to then tell people as a storyteller what our military is doing and why, and just remind everyone, this freedom isn't free. This is we have the luxury, thanks to the men and women of the military. And again, paying the nod to the Air Force is extra special for me because I've loved the Air Force. I've been to graduations at the Academy in Colorado Springs. I've seen my family members in their connection to the military and what it's done for them, and it's always so impressive to me. The lifestyle of the military.
Well, we just finished with Colonel Aaron Cowley. He's part of the Ogden Air Logistics Complex. Let's take a look at one of the things that they work on here at Hill almost every day.
I'm Shane Dooley. I'm the production supervisor over Heavy Lifter Assembly. My shop is an assembly shop, so we bring in all the pieces, parts for the landing gear. We build an assembly, we assemble it, test it. As the Air Force's only landing gear overhaul facility, we provide all landing gear for all aircraft on all weapon systems. C-17, A-10, F-16, F-15, F-35, B-1, B-2, C-5, C-130. We provide the only source for landing gear overhaul for the United States Air Force. Worked in a couple different places in this building, and now I'm a supervisor. It's really the people that do it. We got these guys that are working and they're putting in the work. And if he doesn't inspect that part right there, right, that gear fails, a plane crashes when it lands, or it takes off and it can't come back down, and you could have 30, 40, 50 souls on board. They could lose their lives. So it's very important that we take care of everything the best we can. The smallest detail matters. It's all part of a big cog, and we're only doing one piece, and it has to line up and everything has to work perfectly. This facility produces roughly 6,000 gear a year between all weapon systems. We have a machine shop, chrome plating shop, assembly shops, disassembly shop, E&I, NDI inspections, everything's done in-house. I think the most unique part of this facility is that we can take an F condition, which is coming off an aircraft, and we can return it to an A condition. We can take the whole gear, tear it down to its base metal, machine it, rebush it, recap plate it, paint it, and then turn it back into a functioning gear. Every time I go home, I see those aircraft flying around. I know that they're landing because of what we did here.
Just an awesome work that they do at the Ogden Air Logistics Complex. And you know, you look there at Bill Stein. I don't know the technical designation of the aircraft, but apparently it has a pretty awesome paint job that depending on how you're looking at it, it changes colors. The Edge 540.
I mean, you know, who's looking at the paint job here? This is I love these guys like Bill Stein here who have no fear. I mean, this is. They're not concerned about anything. They love putting on a great show, and you wouldn't catch me up in that for $1 million, I don't think.
I mean, that's almost an unbelievable number. I mean, I don't do public math, but 5,000 hours of aerobatic and formation flights. I mean, that's a lifetime.
Again, hats off to our commercial pilots who do a great work, but my goodness, these pilots who put an aircraft in these unnatural positions and they pull crazy G-forces too. Casey, our morning reporter at KSL Television, he was actually up in the stunt plane a couple of days ago in preparation for the show, and he said something like they pulled 10 Gs. He said they pulled Gs higher sometimes than the fighter jets because of the way that they are turning on a dime and turning so quickly. And it's just incredible what they do. Now, again, it works the body into a pretzel, and then you're in bad shape. I don't think I would handle it, but boy, oh boy, that's incredible to watch for sure.
I'm assuming Casey slept for 24 hours.
Casey said his exact words were, "I wasn't right for at least an hour when I got out of that plane." But I mean, we can see why. They turn. What did it say that stat? 450 degrees in like a second or something. I mean, they can turn more than a full turn in a second's time, which is just incredible. I don't know how you practice this. Here, now I'm going to practice just, kind of stalling and flopping around, left to right, up and down. Down is up is down.
I'm just going to say, this is next level choreography.
It's incredible.
Like, who thinks of this stuff?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I've got a good idea.
Why don't you try this? Can you do that with a plane?
I mean, it's pretty incredible what you can do in the skies. And just to see it on display, and I'm sure so many of our pilots who serve in the military, have been inspired by a lot of these performers who have been up in the civilian acts at different air shows as they grew up, in addition to the military aircraft that they've seen fly as well.
Yeah. Well, you got to think it's not just like reckless abandon. It's not just, let's go be irresponsible. What it is pushing yourself to the limit and seeing how far can we go. And once we reach that, well, can we go even further? So I picture that with the military and their relationship with NASA. You take it with the Air Force. We're talking terrestrial, and then you get up in the skies. You know what? Let's take this out of this world and let's go somewhere and explore. It's that human need to explore and figure out where is the edge, and then you go over the edge and you find a new frontier. So again, it's a small thing to watch a stunt plane do these stunts, but to tie it into a larger, what are we as human beings? I mean, that's what we do, right? We have this instinct to look for that next level and fly upside down.
And honestly, that's that passion for creativity and to innovate and to do things, push the bounds of what's considered normal. That's been in the DNA of airmen and now Guardians for the entire 75-year history of the Air Force. But even beyond, we say 75 years of the Air Force, a separate service since 1947. September 18th, 1947 was when the Air Force became a separate service. But you think about, there was aviation long before the Air Force, dating back to the Wright brothers, World War I, the Army Air Corps, and the heroics of World War II. But it's been in the DNA of all aviators.
Well, then you
forever.
think about, didn't Leonardo da Vinci design a helicopter or something? I mean, there was something to that level, in the Renaissance. Once people sparked that interest, and once, freedom of information in the printing press, and you could actually learn new things and new skills that would change the world. But think about that, the relatively short amount of time that we have been flying as a species. A century? A little more, sure. But think about that. The horse and buggy was the typical means of transportation for centuries upon centuries, and these beasts of burden. And once we figured it out, once we were able to get that inspiration and figure out flight, the sky was the limit, pun intended. I mean, it was all you do is figure out that next flight and that next plane and that next way of breaking those bonds of the Earth and the gravity. I think we saw that gravity when the Golden Knights were plummeting towards the Earth. That's what my kids kind of made note of. Wow, he pulled that chute and then demonstrated, well, what if the chute doesn't work? And then immediately starts falling at 120, 130 miles an hour again. That's gravity, and we're breaking those bonds of gravity with these different aircraft here with the Air Force.
I think terminal velocity starts after 8 seconds.
Oh boy,
I don't want to know, but yeah. So great picture there. Bill Stein doing a great job warming up the crowd. The Air Force Thunderbirds now just over 30 minutes away, and so now you've had a little bit of a chance. You've had the taste. You were out here Friday, obviously, and now today. Yeah. What is your favorite act or part of the air show?
Oh boy, that's tough. Oh well, I guess I'll go with the easy answer, which is the big guns, which are the F-35 and the Thunderbirds, because of the fact that those F-16s, in coordination, the moves that they do, they all fly toward each other and then peel off, and then this whole low-level flight, and then straight into the steepest climb, and then the steepest dives. It's the maneuverability of those planes due to the expertise of those pilots. That's what's impressed me the most. I mean, as a storyteller, I'm a reporter and anchor. I just love telling the stories of these people, though, and talking to them. We got to talk to some members of the Thunderbirds. We got to talk to Major Kristen Beowulf, and they're just like you and me, folks. The Us Weeklies that say, oh, celebrities, they're just like you and me. Well, here, the celebrities at the air show are these pilots, and they really are just like us. They did start off at some point deciding, this is what I want to do, right? Okay, check this out. This is one of the most unique acts here today. Wow. Look at the propellers on this. Is that a Yak 110? It's actually two Yak 55 airframes that have been joined together to make one aircraft. I got to believe this is pretty unique.
Yeah, it is.
I've never seen anything like that. They have a J85 jet engine. So what a treat we have here. This is Jeff Bourbon. It's Bourbon is how it's pronounced. Jeff Bourbon. Sorry, Jeff. He's not listening right now.
No, he's not.
Not to me, anyway.
He's busy.
Jeff Bourbon, he's on this just spectacular ride. This is incredible. Okay, so you made me speak too soon. So what is my favorite part? maybe it's the unique, incredible aircraft that you go, what is that plane? I've never seen anything like it before.
So yesterday we saw this aircraft in action, and I was like, okay, I need to read a little bit more, because I've never seen two airplanes fused together. And the story behind it is the Yak 55 is actually a Russian aerobatic airplane. That's what it was originally designed for, and then the Russians decided to move on to something else. But Jeff and a group of 3 or 4 of his aviation circle friends said,
what if we fuse it together?
What if? And apparently this is a project that started, or an idea that popped up 10 10 years ago.
Unreal.
And it just really got to fruition a few years ago, and we're getting up close and personal look right here. But that is amazing. Look at that.
And you've got a red side and a blue side. I mean, this thing, well, that's what's incredible. So you got propellers, then you have a jet engine. That's unbelievable. Again, the twists and turns and the maneuverability, the tight turns that you're seeing there, that takes some skill. That is unbelievable.
6,000 pounds of thrust.
Oh, boy.
But again, it goes back to our previous conversation about, innovation, ingenuity, just pushing the limits. Who would have ever said, hey, what if we put 2 airplanes together?
I mean, it feels like it was inevitable, right? Someone had to say, you were a kid and you're jumping off things that are higher and higher. Maybe you jump off the roof onto the trampoline and immediately regret it. Maybe you jump into, you do things that seem silly. I bet you at first somebody said to him, come on, you can't, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Okay, crazy, you said the magic word. Let's go for it. Incredible.
Well, I think the uniqueness of it makes you probably in demand, so that's a pretty smart business model, too.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Now, what would really be something if you see it split off and then the 2 planes fly independently, one with another. That's just incredible. And that's the good thing about the air show, too, is when you have things, Tom Cruise, what do you say? I feel the need for speed. It could be the ones that are the fastest, but it can also be these that are so incredible in their, again, each pass you get to see something different.
Yeah, just incredible. I mean, in fact, Kevin Ireland, when we talked to him this morning from the Utah Air Show Foundation, and such a great partnership between his foundation and Hill Air Force Base and the community to put this show on. So big thanks to Kevin. But he said this is his favorite act.
Oh, see, and he's got to feel a weight lifted off, because I know Kevin, we had spoken with him on our morning newscast a few times. They were ready to go in 2020. That was supposed to be the air show. It was effectively set up, bought, and paid for. I mean, it was, here we go, let's do this, and everything was canceled. So can you imagine? You're that close to fulfilling your every 2-year assignment of, oh, good, we've got this thing in place, thousands of people involved, and it just doesn't happen. So the payoff here is fantastic here in 2022.
Well, and he said, the planning for 2024, he said he'll be at work tomorrow starting to make those calls.
No doubt it is underway right now. Hey, but this has to be, and now this is speaking anecdotally, I got to believe this is the biggest event in Utah since the beginning of the pandemic. We have not had something with 300,000 each day, maybe a total between 500,000 and 600,000 people, a logistical behemoth task to pull off, and boy, what a lot of fun, too. So, we've had some concerts and festivals, and we're in parade season, as they call it here in Utah, where each of the parades going on in our towns and cities. But this is something else. This is totally different. Even when we have a 24th of July Pioneer Day celebration coming up in a couple of weeks. We got the big 4th of July festivals, but this is the biggest event here in our state. And we're so glad to welcome everybody from around the world, really, because so many people come to these air shows from, other states and other countries even.
Yeah, again, I keep bringing Kevin's name up, but he said, I was talking to people from Minnesota, California, Arizona. I mean, just so many people from, states outside of Utah coming, and they plan their vacations around this great event. And so, obviously, there's so much. I mean, Utah is such a beautiful state to begin with, and so many other things to do. I mean, why not plan your week in Utah around a couple days at Hill, but you can go Moab, you can go wherever.
Yeah, go to the national parks. And I understand that Disneyland is fun and exciting, and we've done that. But free is cheaper than Disneyland. Free is cheaper than Universal Studios. So when you get a free air show, I mean, what a gift that is to the community as well. We've got to say thank you to so many people here at Hill and the surrounding communities for helping put on this fantastic show. It sounds like I'm wrapping up. I'm not. We've got another hour or so because the main event is about to get underway in just a few minutes. We can't wait for those Thunderbirds to take to the skies. Their support staff, their little vehicles and trucks and minivans were out there all day. They're not there anymore. That's because they're about ready to do what they do and load up. And again, getting on Friday to talk to a couple of those members of the team with the Thunderbirds. it was just incredible. Like we said, they're just like you and me. One of them, he's got a baby on the way, and the other was talking about relocating she and her husband to the West, and just you talk about them, about their life experiences, and they just so happens that they also fly, F-16s.
Yeah,
in formation.
they're exponentially better pilots than you or I, so that's only different.
We talked to the flight surgeon as well, and we said, wait a second, flight surgeon, so... we asked in our ignorance, what do you do medically? He goes, I'm a doctor. We said, you're a doctor and you fly in jets. This is unreal. Like, this is, what was I doing when I hit 30 years old? I certainly wasn't a doctor and flying planes.
Yeah, and so pro tip, we actually talked to Pyro this morning, the advanced pilot and the narrator for the actual show's Thunderbird number 8, and we asked him a little behind-the-scenes question. We said, hey, does each of you have like a secret handshake, like something that you guys, and he said, yeah, we kind of call it our gang sign, if you will, but he actually demonstrated his personal, handshake with the pilots or with his ground crew as they take off, and each ground crew with their pilot has their own little handshake. So as you're watching them taxi out today, be looking for that super secret handshake.
And if they've got a new member, they say, where's Steve? I thought Steve was out here before. Hey, listen, we got an intricate handshake here. Hey, look, if it's good enough for the NBA players as they enter the court, we should have some walk-up music for all the pilots. Get some AC/DC, get some Metallica as they walk up. Throwing a little Neil Diamond just to be funny. But these guys are the true heroes and the superstars of the tarmac today.
Well, I think what really comes out when you come to events like these, and it is out there every day, but you're really surrounded by a weekend of nothing but passion for aviation, and not only the military aviation aspect, but just a love of aviation in general.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. And I think it's fun, the little rivalry that exists between the airmen, and then you've got soldiers who talk about, boots on the ground, that's what's so important. Then the Marines talk about what's important. The Navy talks about what they love. These airmen, though, love to show off up in the skies and show what their true expertise can do. And again, we talk about this over and over again, the inspiration that it can be to young people. That's what I love about it, is maybe that 10-year-old is out in the crowd as we speak. Well, I'm not going to say maybe. There is no doubt some kid who came here today got to get up into that, KC-135 refueling tanker, got to see the Army in their tanks over here, got to see that old classic Blue Angels plane from the Navy. They are going to have a career in the military, and they are going to do incredible things that we can only imagine at this point in time. Just think the next 5 and 10 years what that might bring.
Or they may want to be an astronaut with NASA.
No doubt.
I mean, because it sounds like they got some pretty cool stuff happening right now.
Well, and oftentimes it goes from fighter pilot over to NASA to become an astronaut. I've had the benefit of going to Cape Canaveral and interviewing astronauts during the shuttle program when it was heading towards its sunset. And I will tell you, the Space Coast in Florida, there was a palpable fear that was it. They were going to shutter the whole program. And they did, and they ended the shuttle program. And I talked to astronauts who said, well, now we have to learn Russian, and we have to go take off from Kazakhstan. And what does the American space program hold for the future? Fast forward, I guess for me that was probably 11, 12 years ago. And look what we have with SpaceX. Look what we have with Blue Origin. Look at the coordination with NASA. We're planning trips to the moon, planning trips to Mars. And the space program, no doubt, is more active now than it's ever been before. And that starts with the military in many cases. It starts with these men and women who fly these planes and then will ultimately fly rockets to space.
Yeah, so pretty incredible stuff there. You still see the Yak 110 wowing the crowd. And what's amazing is I look out from our broadcast position and we can see large chunks of the crowd on both sides. And honestly, still tons of cameras up at the sky and a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, all the eyes go to the skies. Hey, and thankfully there were some sunglasses huts out there. They were handing out free sunglasses, honest to goodness. I think it was Rocky Mountain Power over here handing out sunglasses because they saw everyone looking up to the sky and they want to make sure that we can do so comfortably. So that was very kind of them to have the sunglasses out here.
Yeah, and so if you were hoping to get a glimpse of the Air Force Thunderbirds, you're probably running out of time if you're trying to get on base.
Oh boy, yeah.
Because we are rapidly getting closer. We're about 20-ish minutes from the start of their ground show, and around 3:35 local time, the Thunderbirds will take off for the skies. And it was really interesting. Yesterday, we talked with the operations officer, Colonel Yingling from the Thunderbirds. He talked about how they went and actually during the pandemic and when they were doing different missions other than air shows, they did take some time to get feedback from Disney on just not obviously on their flying, but just on the presentation of their shows and just different stuff, because obviously Disney knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
But you got a good look there at an old era uniform.
Right.
But it was just really fascinating. So if you did come in 2018 to the Hill Air Show, the show that you see today will be slightly different.
Different, and I suppose more dramatic and in every way telling a story. We spoke with two of the members of the Thunderbirds who said that about Disney, and they said, what we want to do is show a beginning, middle, and end. We want to show a progression of our story. I mean, again, they could do whatever they want. They could fly over 3 or 4 times and everybody would be in awe. But the cool thing about it is it's like a fireworks show that has a timing to the pyrotechnics and a timing to the music. You're going to get that with the Thunderbirds as well. And the fact that they are not only flying an F-16, but doing so with a coordinated effort, we gotta give props to that Yak 110. That is something else. That is the coolest looking plane.
Okay,
wow.
So another great replay. Great job from the team inside the truck there, the
shot.
second audiovisuals crew. I got to give out to Sergeant Hertz, Sergeant Harris, Airman Allen. They have been tracking airplanes on those cameras for 2 days consecutively, and you got shots like that.
That's right. Yeah, we see them. We're watching them up on their perches. Nice work. There we go. We got a wave.
Okay.
It's such a good shot from above, too, just to see the mass of humanity that descended upon Hill Air Force Base today, yesterday, leading up to it a few days this week. And what a cool thing it is to be a part of this as KSL Television and just kind of be able to share in this awesome stream and this broadcast. So that the folks at home, a lot of folks can't get out. Perhaps they've got things going on. We're glad you've been able to watch here, too, on this stream.
And so I think the Yak 110 should be close to landing or has landed. I'm not quite sure. I don't see him. So, we are getting really close to the Thunderbirds. And, part of life at an Air Force base is there's a lot of missions and things that go on behind the scenes. It's not just the airplanes in the sky, obviously. And we want to give you, before the Thunderbirds, as the Yak 110 is the final act before the Thunderbirds come on, is we want to show you some of that life behind the scenes. So we're going to show you a few of our packages that we have in collaboration between our second audio visual squadron and KSL 5 TV. But first, before we do that, we want to highlight one of Utah's very own. Earlier this year, our Air Force and our country lost a true patriot. Colonel Gail Halverson passed away at the age of 101, affectionately known as the Candy Bomber. Colonel Halverson leaves behind a legacy of kindness and compassion.